Hello, everybody. I had a raffle just recently, and so I am filling the orders for the raffle. I thought I would go live on Instagram while I'm beading this. It's not necessarily a tutorial, but you can. This design that I'm doing, I'm actually going to be going across ways, this way. And so what I'm doing is outlining the edges. So, I have like a kind of like a nice little frame to work inside of. And getting these lines really straight is kind of one of the more difficult things to do just because, you're trying to keep everything nice and straight. So don't mind me if I stop talking. I've been super duper busy. Oh, let me show you what I've been working. So let me really quickly. This is something that I've been working on and possibly be a larger piece for commission. And so, yeah, I've been super duper busy. If you follow me on Instagram, which is my Instagram handle is Spotted Cloud. I'm very active on there. I don't do beading tutorials on Instagram, but I do share a lot of the work that I do. So right now the method I'm doing is called 2-needle flat stitch. And as I'm doing this, if you'll see, I call it, I don't know, there's probably official terms, but this is my lead line. So I've stacked a bunch of beads on here. I've loaded up the string with my beads, and I usually end up wrapping it like this around my fingers to make it nice and tight. And then I use my thumb to keep the beads tight against each other as I'm tacking down with the second thread. So this is the second thread. And I usually, when I'm working with really small beads, like these are 13s, these are Czech seed beads, size 13. So when I am working with smaller beads, what I do is I use a thinner thread. So there's different size threads that you can use, size D, A, all the way down to 00. And I use this one right here is an A thread. So it's fairly thinner. Yes, it is graph paper. Yeah, I made my design. I also like to color the background so that way once you kind of start getting going and putting down your design, you don't have these like white parts poking through. And so when I'm tacking down, I don't double up my thread. If you can see, here's the other side of this thread. Here's the needle. And then over here, it's open. You're welcome. It's open on the outer edge. Like I just leave it open so I can slide my thread off and undo stuff. I don't have to, cut a knot, cut the knots. But when I work with larger beads, I will double up the thread and knot it and then just get going. But sometimes that's why I like this part being open right here is that you can slide beads off. Being able to slide beads off of this one is, crucial when you're especially doing like design work, because when you're building your design, a lot of times there might be beads, your design won't be lining up with what you might have down. And also there's, you've got to consider that like the beads are the size that they are. You can't, force, I mean, you can try to cull the beads and get the sizes that you need, but sometimes, you may be going a little bit outside of the design that you have there. And, sometimes you just got to work with what the beads want to do. So So yeah, I try not, I mean, I'm beading, especially if the beads only fit like two, I think. With this one, I might be able to fit three right here on this part when I get started. And if it's three, then I'm going to have to compensate over here on these sides. So it's just, sometimes we want to force the beads to do what we want them to do, but instead you kind of got to work with what they want to do too. It's kind of like a give and take relationship, I guess, if that makes any sense. So this is what I'm working on for the second prize winner of my raffle. And if you go to my Instagram page, you can see a lot more of what I've been working on recently. And everything you see there is the reason why I don't make regular videos on YouTube. So I try to fit things in, but I'm a busy mother of three. So if you can see, I'm just tacking down every two beads. I know it seems like a lot, and that's why I just don't double up the thread on size 13 beads. But once I start filling this in, tacking it down every two will prevent the inside beads pushing up against the edge and making it bulky. That's the reason why I'm taking the time to just tack down every two. And I might accidentally skip and do three. These are tiny beads, so as I'm pushing through, I'm actually using this finger on the back. If you can see the needle right here, that's how close I'm getting to my finger. I use this finger as a guide, and then I use my thumb and this finger, and and I still poke myself, but with the needle, but it's an ingrained habit now that I kind of use my thumb and forefinger as guides. And especially using these Charlotte True Cuts, I really try to be mindful of making sure. Oh, I caught the thing, right? Okay. These are the colors that are going to be going on the inside. So this really beautiful, rich pink. It's like a red raspberry. That's the good color. That's the name. This is a raspberry with an AB treatment, and AB means Aurora Borealis. And Aurora Borealis treatment on the beads is gorgeous because it gives this extra sheen of kind of like you can see blue and yellow as the beads are like shining. You can't really see it on the camera, but there are so many beads that you can choose from. Okay, so I'm pushing these forward. I'm taking this and wrapping this around my finger. I am, because these are Charlotte True Cuts, and I mean, I don't know if this makes any sense, but getting the most for my money. I like to be mindful of watching where the facets are. And if I see a nice large facet, I will turn it upwards. So that way we can get max shininess from our beads. Oh, I just poked myself. Ouch. Just to get the most. I mean, I know that some people get apprehensive about making stuff and worrying that they're going to mess up. And I think the best thing you can do, and the only way that you're going to get really good at doing this kind of stuff, is just by doing it and doing it a lot. I've been beading for 20 years, 20 plus years. So, oh, oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Arlinda. I know I wish I had more time to make more. Just I'm very active on Instagram. I post a lot of my work. Um, I also paint murals, and they just have a lot of things in the work right now, in the works right now. And so getting to doing the seed beading, I wish I had more time, but I'm actually working on like a really large project right now. I've been showing some pictures on my Instagram about what I'm working on, kind of just trying to take seed beads and propelling them into, newer areas. As I love to do two needle flat stitch, but sometimes I feel like I just want to bust out and be free. Mm. I am using size 13 Charlotte True Cuts. These are 13s, Charlotte True Cut Czech seed beads. That's what these are. And I usually, where I get my, there's a lot of online places that you can order beads from. There is some brick and mortar places down in Oklahoma that we usually, when we travel down there, I will always go to one of those brick and mortars. Yeah, this definitely is. I feel like you have more control. I feel like you have more control over how the beads are able to move when you're doing two needle as opposed to doing one needle and running it through. Especially if you make a mistake. Like if you make a mistake and you need to take the beads off, you just take them off like that. Um, or if you need to add beads, I think that's when it comes to making designs really, especially more geometric designs, using two needles is, I feel, my own opinion, really helpful because you can cull the beads and find the sizes that you need. So thank you guys for joining me right now. This is going to be a pair of earrings for a raffle winner. Um, and so, yeah, I was really so very happy for all of the support I received, and yeah, from the raffle. So as we're nearing the circle, what I'm going to do is, and hopefully my needle will be thin enough to pass through this last one right here. Also, and usually when I'm not making designs, I'll have a few beads kind of like sitting loose, but normally I will bead off of the hank. So beading off of the hank is, oops, I'm sorry. So here's the hank of beads right here that I have that you can buy. I usually don't ever try to buy beads in tubes, but yes, I'm tacking every two beads. 100% every project I do, I tack two. Ooh, that sounds. Every project I do, I tack two. There, let's make it a motto. So I'm coming to the end and I'm going to bead directly off of the hank. And you can either do two ways. You can hold the hank like this at the end and grab what you need off of there. So just slide it down. And this is good for when you're doing solid colors. I know sometimes I can be pretty funny. My husband thinks so. So yeah, like right here, we're at the end. And I have an extra bead, so I'm going to take that off right there. See, this is what I like about my needle will slide through. These are really tiny beads, and so I'm going to take my needle through this last bead. Oh yes, it'll fit. I'm pushing the needle through this last, or the first bead that I started with, but I'm ending with this bead. I'm taking the lead one and I'm pulling it through, and this is how I complete the circle. And then I just tack this needle through like this, close as I can get it underneath these beads right here. And I have to be very gentle because this needle is very thin. And I'm pulling it through, and that's how I finish a circle. Yay! And then I'm just going to come back over here and tack down the rest of them. So there's a little gap right here, so you can see where I need to start off at again. I get as close as I can to those beads right there, right up against the edge. And then as I come over and I tack down, I try to get as close to the inside as I can too. So that way you're completely hiding your thread. And that's where it's beneficial to, I mean, when you're doing smaller beads like this is why I like to use just, my tacking line is open and it just has one thread that tacks them down. Plus, you know, when you're doing more delicate projects like this, you know, it's not going to go through a lot of wear. You know, people aren't going to be moshing in their earrings. Hopefully not. Like, I wouldn't mosh in my beaded earrings, or I don't know, go skydiving. It's just so the delicate, more delicate things like this, you know, I mean, when you have regalia that people are wearing and dancing in all the time, yeah, you're gonna want to tack things down. And all right, so I'm gonna start building this design, and I'm gonna start from the middle, and it looks like I'm gonna follow this main line right here. This is the line that I base the entire design around on this grid. So I'm going to start in the middle because I feel like I can fit 3 lines in this main middle one. And I'm going to do every line across all the way to the top, and I'm starting in the middle. That way my design doesn't get bunched up down here. So I'm in the middle and I'll work my way outwards on each side. And that's why I little fence almost. It's almost like a fence, keeping all my other little beads inside and creating a barrier for me to work from, as opposed to trying to do the inside design first. And I think if you were to do something like this, where you're trying to do the inside and it's not like a natural rosette, you're going to want to build a frame and then work from that. Because if you're trying to do lines in a straight line, then what happens is your edges are going to be all over the place. And then when you try to go and surround it to finish it off, your edging will be all crazy too. So I am starting right here. And this is how we're going to build our design. And this is where, you know, we kind of got to be very conscious of how big the beads are and what they want to do. So, because I was like totally not prepared to like go live. I was sitting here and I thought, maybe I should just go live. So here I didn't prepare nothing. I just went live. And you know, oh, these 2 of these came out. Darn it. This is exactly what I was looking. Oh, nice. Right on. I was totally not expecting to go, and I was sitting here and I thought, you know what? I need to throw a video on YouTube, because you guys are always so awesome for subscribing to my channel. Honest to goodness, I was not expecting. I made my very first video to help my cousin out. She was asking me about beading, and I thought, so I made her a video, and then I thought, well, if anybody else has any questions, if I put it on YouTube, I'll just tell them to go look at it on YouTube. And I was not expecting anybody to see my videos at all. And then all of a sudden, dang, everybody was all interested in it. I was like really surprised. So, okay, so now I'm getting all of my, since this is such a, you know, I might take off a few of here and there because you want to have extra loose ones because a lot of times the beads are all these different sizes. And you're going to need to find different parts so that your design stays nice and clean. So I'm going to make a little pile right here. I'm going to do that too over here. And now that I'm getting older, my eyesight, oh my goodness, and it's getting more difficult for me to see. Excuse me. Okay, so I think that's about 4. The other thing too, when you start to bead for a really long time, you can kind of guesstimate how many beads you're going to need. I'm going to say 5 because this little tiny bead right here is really thin. So that's 5 beads right there. 5 seed beads. Is it 5? Oh yeah, 5, okay. Oh, I was wrong. It was 4. I was right the first time. Darn it. Anyways, don't listen to me. And hopefully we'll be able to get away with doing 4 for each one of those. Okay, let's measure this out. And this is why it's good to have an open-ended. Yep, look at perfect. 4 each. 4, 4, 4. And then I'll do white on the inside. Yeah, perfect. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Usually beading off of the hank is really nice when you're doing really big runs of one color. But I have this other project I'm working on. 444. Yep. I have this other project I'm working on right now. If you go to my Instagram, Spotted Cloud, you'll see why I have a ginormous pool of gold beads. So when I'm doing really large runs, when you have a big open space like this, you can just swoop, shoop, shoop, shoop like this, and then you just go skim along the top and look how fast I filled that up. So yeah. I don't know. I guess I should, well, if I share, I just finished, I don't know if y'all seen that again, but I'll show you again. I just finished this piece. And I'm probably going to be making these, but way larger, like 3, 4 feet big. So this is a new direction in what I'm doing. Thank you. Thank you. I have a commission at a museum and no, which ones that I had on there? Those were chocolate brown Czech seed beads. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm working on and it'll be the next 6 months. Okay, so this middle one, I'll need like 3 more, but skinny ones. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully 3 more skinny ones will fit. And the other thing is, see, look, I don't want to push too hard on the edge because we don't want to like buckle that part. So the middle, Yeah, we want to kind of make sure that it's naturally sitting. We don't want to force it. Like if I push it this way, I'm pushing out the edges, and then also I'm not lining up with the design on the inside. So I'm going to take this piece out. That's what's good about having this open side, is you can take things away, measure things, and then halfway through, it's good to just tack it down and then finish the rest of the design. And that way everything sits naturally. Oh, nice. Right on. Yeah, you can go to my earlier videos, and I have some videos about just basic, you know, doing 2 needle flat stitch is, once you get the hang of it, you can apply it to, and you can pretty much go anywhere with it. So keeping this line straight, I'm just gonna follow, because I know now that one more row can fit here and one more row can fit there. So now I know it's 3. But I'm not gonna force this. I'm not gonna push these beads too hard because I want them to line up with this design going this way, because I'm building the design this way. Yeah, if you want to get started, I say jump right in. Don't give yourself a huge project. Just start simple. If you want to, when you want to start simple. Just do one color even, and kind of get to know the beads. Just sit with, spend time with the beads, get a feel for it, because eventually, the more and more you do this, because it's just really repetitive action, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with making bigger decisions and bolder designs. And so if you're just beginning, what you want to do is just start simply. And that way you won't get frustrated and not want to continue, because this really is a practice. You do have to practice like anything else, you have to be an avid. And see, now that oops, who is not connected? Yeah, but trying, are they designs up? Yeah, you, I would say that make your own designs. Just, don't copy other people's designs. But there are designs that are out there that are just kind of general. Like this one right here that I'm using is a general design. But yeah, like if you see something that's really detailed and intricate, I wouldn't bother using that. Just, get a little, get a notebook right here. So I have my sketchbook right here, and I have designs that I draw on them all the time when I'm just my downtime, and drawing from things that I'll be inspired by stuff that I see. But I won't use these per se. Yeah, I won't use that, but I'll get inspired by it. And eventually you become so, this is for art that I've done. And I did create a large piece based around this design. So I get inspired by things, and but I also study. Like these are Grovant. I'm Grovant and Assiniboine. And so I look at the designs that are on, and I study them. I'll redraw them, and let's make sure that, yeah, so I'll redraw those designs that I see on people's regalia. Doesn't mean I'm going to recreate them or reuse them. It just means that I'm studying what they are doing, and then trying to create something from that based off of what my own ideas are. So that's my advice if you're just starting out. Oh, look at that. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Pinterest, I have a Pinterest, I have a board, I have several boards, and I just do visual. Somebody called it visual research, and that was like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not being obsessive about pinning stuff. I look at all kinds of different people's designs and stuff, and I do tend to try to stick to the designs from my own tribe, and kind of studying them and redrawing them and kind of getting a feel for what is repetitive and what they reused over and over again. Basic elements, like the building of squares as yeah. See, as I'm beading and tacking down this one right, can you see it? This one right here is wonky. It's tiny and it's going to throw off my design later on, so take it off. I'm going to take off this little bead because this one was funky shaped. It is real tiny. See, it's got one that's lopsided. That's going to throw everything off later on. So I'm going to pick one that's a little bit more fatter and more uniformed. Yeah, that one's a little bit more. And as I put them on, that'll fill out my, you got to be really careful about that. That's a cleaner line right there. So in the long run, how you set your design up at the very beginning is going to influence the rest of the pattern. It'll influence how your pattern is laying flat later on. So you got to be diligent about how you're setting up the design at the very beginning. And as you're pulling this tacking thread, you need to make sure that, you want to tack it tight, but you don't want it to be too tight, because what happens if you make it too tight, then that causes your beadwork to buckle. So you want to kind of find this like perfect tension between being too loose and being too tight. Guess I could like move this up a little bit. Yeah, same here. If I'll catch one that's real, have a nice big flat side, and I'll have to take the extra time to turn it with my needle. Okay, so even though I drew this design as close as I could, there's still a little gap right here. So it's not going to be exactly center, but nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to notice except for me, because I notice everything that's off when I do my beadwork. Hey kids. Kids. Kids, please don't argue. At home. I'm so grateful to be at home, but yeah, it's still a lot to have the kids homeschooling and finding time. So I tried to take my time to set up this middle strip the best I could. And my circle isn't perfect, but that's okay. I mean, nothing's ever perfect. But I set this up as best as I could. And so now I'm going to go start on this side. My needle is really thin. I think it's like made for like size 18. teens or something. Okay. And this is why I like beading with an open end, the 2 needle flat stitch, because as you're building the design, if you know the beads are all different shapes, it's very minuscule. Oh, yeah, your videos, they're great. You are pop. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I love Bob Ross too. Okay, so I've beginning the second one, and if you can see, these beads have lined up really well, so I don't have to make any adjustments. But that's why it's important to have this open side right here, because if you need to take beads off, you can. And take that little extra time to make sure that they're all lining up and you know the beads are generally the same size. Sometimes if I notice that if I'm going to be tacking down every 2, I'll skip 1 just so that because every time you tack down, when you tack down, every time you tack down, this tacking thread is going to move the beads over ever so slightly. It's really such a small, when that's happening in this tacking thread it'll move the beads this way. As you're tacking this way, it'll move them that way. So you got to be conscious of that. And so sometimes I won't tack down every 2 just so I can keep the design nice and straight, especially when you're building the designs like in rows. It's really important to keep the size of the beads in mind. So now I'm tacking every 2. I actually skipped 3 because I saw that those beads was kind of pushing it. Perfect. Yay. And so this middle piece has 1, 2, 6, but one of these beads right here on this side is really skinny. So I can try to put 5 really fat beads or try to find more skinny beads to build that middle piece. So I'm just going to grab off the hank first, and if it doesn't measure up, then I'm going to try to find one that'll make it all fit. And so oops, what I'll do is I'll just throw those other pink beads on there so I can really see it lining up. And if it doesn't line up, I'll just take them off. Perfect. All right. See, right here, I'm coming up to an issue because I don't know if it's my pickiness or not, but I guess I can crunch that together. There's a nice big facet right there. So if I leave that in there, it's going to catch a lot of light. You see that light right there? The thing is, this one's a little bit fatter and it's going to throw off the design. So I'm going to search for one that's a little tiny bit thinner than this one right here. It's pretty. Oh, look at that pretty shine. Look at that facet. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there. But so I'll kind of keep this one off right here so I can measure. with my eyeball. Sometimes I'll kind of put them up to against each other. That one's a little bit too thin. And I know you can't see it from this far up, you know. If I had a macro lens, I'd use it, but see if we can see the difference in size. Can we? No, you can't. My camera doesn't want to adjust to that. So anyways, I'll just do this. Did you see how that's off right there? This pink one is off, and that's going to throw off my design if I go with it. But at the same time, when I tack down, it's going to start pushing those beads more this way. And so it might line up towards the end. So you want to take that into consideration. So I'm going to push these, but I'm not going to force them. I'm going to let them kind of naturally separate. So that way, when I get to the pink area, they might eventually line up. So let's find out if that works. Sometimes I'll even tack it down between each bead so that the design lines up a little bit better. A little bit flatter. Yeah. So these beads are not going to line up right here. And that's the genius about doing 2-needle flat work is you can take them off and grab some new ones. They might be fatter beads, and so they might work a lot better. See, and I grabbed these beads are still in there, so now I just poke them back in my feet. Of course, now that I'm trying to show you. See, I'll keep them in my thumb like that. So I'll grab them and hold them in here, and then I can just stick the needle back in. And that way I don't have to restring more. Oops. Sorry. See, now it's lined up. I kind of feel like, you know, taking that time to really be finicky about your beads is, you know, really good beadwork from OK Beadwork. Ta-da! Yeah, see, and now it's flat. That design is going to be flat on this side. Please don't mind my kids. Charlotte True Cuts. These are Czech seed beads. Czech. You guys, can you please quiet down? Sorry. Oh my goodness. The beads I'm using are, oh, I don't even want to, all I know is are Czech seed beads, Charlotte True Cuts, size 13s. And Charlottes are the ones that have the facets, and the facet is what makes it. The Charlotte True Cut is, I don't know why they call it Charlotte. I should research that. Is what really gives the extra shine. See, now I'm coming up here to start the. So every time that I'm going to pass by, to make sure that it's all evening out. I'm gonna do this side and then I'll go back to this side and then go back until we get to the end. And that way everything kind of just stays level and even. But because there's a curve, it's gonna have to change the amount of, hopefully, probably not right now, the amount of beads that I'm gonna be adding. Oh no! And then sometimes you get butterfingers and drop your thread. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know I wasn't planning. I'm so inconsistent. I apologize. Yeah, I'm a busy mom of 3. So there. Okay, I'll put those over there. See, and this little square right here is wanting to migrate that way. So that's why it's important to go back and forth, and so you're keeping your things even. I'm gonna try to keep it just this way. It's not gonna be perfect. Darn it. So I'm gonna start here and tack down this first one right here, or pushing that way. No, I don't have any advice because I am probably no, I ruined myself. I didn't think that people would even see my videos, and so I really I would say, yeah, if you're gonna do a YouTube channel, be more consistent than I am. I don't mean to, it's just I just am really busy and you know, um yeah, be more consistent. Probably put out regular content. So this is where you start to come up with issues. I'm gonna have to make this one smaller, but it's gonna make my beads kind of go wonky. Thank you. So I'm gonna search for a thinner bead right here. But you're in Instagram? What's my Instagram? Is that what you're asking? Oops. Um, well, I'm at Spotted Cloud on Instagram, and I'm really active. Okay. Yeah, it says, what is your in? And I was like, not sure. My Instagram is Spotted Cloud. And Spotted Cloud is my name that my grandmother gave to me when I was young. In the Grovant language, which tribe I'm enrolled, the way you say it is Hanukane, which means, really translated, is cloud. She is spotted. And so when I started Instagram, I really wasn't all into it, but then I realized that it's a really good platform to, have your art seen. And so I decided to kind of take it a little bit more seriously as a platform to, like, share my artwork and get opportunities, and it has come through for me and providing opportunities. I was able to go to New York and have my art at this place called the Bronze Art Center because, somebody tagged somebody on a post of mine. They paid for my travel and gave me a place to stay in New York. I stayed in Brooklyn for a week, and I've actually got quite a lot of uh, opportunities from Instagram. And so I kind of see it not necessarily like any kind of fame so much as it's sharing my artwork and, Oh, yeah. I was really surprised. If you look at Instagram, I had beaded a QR code and it actually scans. It's a scannable QR code and it takes you to my Twitter account, which I like totally don't even use Twitter. um, but it seemed appropriate at the time for the piece I was wanting to make. Oh, maybe I can ask one of my kids to show you guys the gas mask I made. Mashchenka, Mashchenka, Washoshe. Oh, can you guys come? Can one of you bring me my gas mask right over here? Can you give me my gas mask, baby? Your gas mask? Yeah, can you grab it? Watch out for that incense, though. Okay. All right, here. Hopefully it'll fit. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so kind of pan out a little bit. Thank you. Thanks, Dad. This is the gas mask I did. So I had an artist in residence for the Institute American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. Because of COVID, we had to do a virtual residency. And so this is kind of like in a continuation of the work that I was doing previously. And so yeah, these are the beads. This is like the first piece to a larger one that I want to do. A larger installation work. So yeah, it's all seed beads right there. And this is actually like I actually incorporated Oklahoma red dirt. We go down to Oklahoma very often and I love the dirt. It's so red. So yeah, I created this gas mask and then I'm actually going to make regalia to fit with it. Thank you. Is that pool of gold beads? The pool of gold beads, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see the part that I'm working on. I don't want to show you guys because my workspace is like really messy. It's like all white and perfect right here, but like the rest of my workspace is like so messy right now. Anyways, we'll get back to beading. Sorry. All right. Well, okay. So I'm going to take this off and please excuse this is on a stand right now, but so this is the piece that I'm working on right now. And it has these horns that are coming out and that's what these are right here. That's what this is for. So I'm on. And so I've created and I'm adding the beads and right now I'm focusing on trying to get this done at the top. So yeah, that's what I'm part of another thing that I'm working on. So I have like several projects. You're welcome. No problem. I found this in my stuff a while ago. It was so pretty. But yeah, I have like, all kinds of like there's the wax that I use. So this piece is I started this piece last year and I have a 2D flat stitch one that I did that's actually traveling across the United States right now, and it's in a show called The World of Frida. And the 2D one, it's on my Instagram too, and I had created this image inspired by Frida Kahlo. And after I made the image and I made it in 2D, I really loved the idea of the horns and the heart, the anatomical heart. And so I kept imagining that being larger and in 3D. And so that's why I started to create this piece. And I started working on this last year, and then I got a public arts grant. I got a public art grant, and so I had to go on to, entire year. Thank you, son. My son was Shoshe. His name means brave in Osage. Wajaje, Osage language. And my daughter's name is Mashchenka, which means rabbit. So she's a rabbit, and my oldest name is Ayo, which means hawk in Muskogee Creek. So yeah, those are my kids' names. And, okay, so now I'm adding the rest of these beads. Okay, see how right here? Yeah, that one's going to be a little bit smaller, and after I tack down, it might actually just kind of float this way. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, my kids are enrolled Osage, but they're also Creek and Seminole and Grovant and Assiniboine and Cayuse and Nez Perce and German and Polish. And so they're like this huge mix. Oh, and then on their dad's side, Scottish. And so they're just like this huge mix of everything. Yeah, see, and after tacking down, it's flattening out. See, on this side right here, at the end, there's a really flat, tiny bead. So I might actually, see, to make it, I'm gonna have to take that off and get a fatter one. And that's what makes it great about having this open end, is you can just take off the beads and add the sizes that you need. So I'll try to come over here and find, after a while you get real good at kind of guesstimating the sizes that you need. My son brought me a bracelet, I guess, to make me look prettier on camera. My hands look prettier on camera. So yeah, like I put the beads right here. I'm pinching these beads right here, and they're still in a row, so I can just slide the needle back through, and I don't have to restring. That's kind of a trick I picked up over the years. Yes. Yes. That's, I don't like, I know I've seen other beaters, like real expert beaters, like you know, I've seen other expert beaters, master beaters really master the one needle technique, and I've tried, but I really feel like I have to force myself to kind of do it. Whereas, you know, this two needle, I like about this, because if I want to take this line out, all I got to do is slide my needle off this tacking thread and just undo my thread if I need to, and I don't have to go back and cut anything. Or I accidentally put too much glue down when I was tacking this piece of paper, and now I can feel it. It's like hard for me to get my needle through. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm so sorry that I don't make regular videos, but I guess you get a big treat when I do finally decide to make a video. Yeah, just keep asking questions. I'll try to answer them the best I can while I'm beading. Because these are for the raffle. I had a raffle and we chose 3 winners. So this is for second place. And I felt that a lot of people are having raffles right now, but they will just make the stuff and then raffle it off. And I felt like this would be more special with the people who had entered the raffle, that they can choose the colors. And, you know, usually when I make beadwork for people, I try to really get to know that person and what they like. And so when I create beadwork for people, I really try to make it really specialized to who that person is. I feel like that's, you know, kind of one of the special parts about beading. And, you know, all these years making regalia, you know, you want to get to know who that person is. So now you're starting to see the design take shape. So I'm going to skip back over to this side and go down this way. And when I come down this way, then I'm going to jump back over here and go up this way. And I'm just going to keep going like this until we're finished. So now that I've completed this middle design, we're going to jump to the second design. So we're going to cruise through that a lot faster because I don't have to measure really as much. And this is, you know, there's a lot of ways to do beadwork, but buildings is, let me go get, I'll be right back. Hold on. All right. So here's more beadwork that I did a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. And so I used two different ways. Like I built the design by using the beads and creating the design. And then I went and did the flat way. I know there's probably better terminology. And then this, I built it. So I continued to build the design just using rows. And I never finished this one because I was young and inexperienced, and I put glue too close to get my needle through to finish this off. And so better. So this is one way where rather than making the design continuously go down, I built the design like this in a different angle to get kind of more of a, angles are difficult with beads, you know. So, and then I built the design on the inside. As if you can see the design right here, building an angle, you have kind of like that step pattern. So what I did was I made the design and then I filled it in, and then the rest of it's all flat in a row. And that's difficult too because you want to try to keep everything, you know, nice and flat. Yes.
Hi.
What are you doing?
Just walking around.
You're walking around. You want to see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Do you think it's funny that I'm on YouTube?
Yeah.
Why is it funny?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
My son is here. He likes watching all kinds of stuff on YouTube. So I think he might think it's funny that Mama's on YouTube now.
Well, you've been on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, I
But
have other videos. Long time ago.
But it was private.
Oh yeah, I have yours that are private. Oh, okay. Thank you for stopping in and hanging out with me and listening to me chatter on while I bead. Well, I was just gonna be sitting here anyways beading, so I figured I might as well just throw it on YouTube and put a video out. So I put these beads on here and it looks like I'm gonna go over one because once I start tacking down, you know, these beads are gonna expand a little bit. So yeah, these ones are a little bit bigger. Like I'm gonna tack down and then I'm gonna add more beads. Because you also always gotta take, I just keep saying that over and over again, but you do have to take into account as you're tacking the beads, the thread is gonna make the beads shift more this way, the direction you're tacking. Especially if you're using like a thicker thread, and that's why when I'm doing really fine work, I use just a thread that's only open-ended on one side. See, there's the tail right there. That's the tail of the needle. I don't tie it down. Well, I tie down one side, you know, to start it off, and then once you start get going, you know, having just a single-sided thread when you're tacking doesn't create as big of a gap in between your beads as if you were to have your tacking thread doubled up. Okay, so this is getting pretty close right here. And I see these two pieces are going to overlap, and I kind of want this to be a little bit further down, so I'm actually going to just be picky. Okay, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. I know I'm just sitting here beading, so thank you for stopping in and watching me bead, listening to my rambling. See, I keep the beads right here, and then I just take the needle. Especially if those beads look like they're gonna fit, I'll just, you know. But these dark pink ones also look like they're a little bit too thin, so I'm gonna take those off too. And as you get all kinds of sizes all the time, and you just kind of gotta, oh, rude. Let's try that again. Sometimes beating off of the hank doesn't always work in your favor either. It's kind of gotta, there we go. I'm all beat off the hank. It's so easy. And then all of a sudden, like, it's probably because y'all are watching. It's like, oh my gosh, I crack myself up some days. Beat off the hank. It's way easier. And then here you're just seeing me struggling and okay, yeah, see there. You just want to take that little extra bit to have your designs line up real nice and clean. And see, these dark pink ones are still too small, so I'm probably going to have to look for a real nice thin one to kind of round it all off right here. Or actually, two thin ones would go really well right there. And this is why it's good to have this open side right here, because you can do that. Look for real thin ones. I bought it as a couple people. Oh, darn it. The comments come up and then they kind of like slowly fade away. Okay, here we go. Ask if they could teach me. It was a flop. They told me that they don't want to share their talent. So what? No, beading is for everybody. Oh my goodness. There is enough to go around for everybody. Come on now. I'll be like, what? Are they afraid you're going to be better than them? Is that why they don't want to share? Like, no. Bead and do your thing. Bead and do your thing, because you do what you need to do and nobody else can outshine you. There's enough room in the world. There's so many people who bead. We all got to carve out our own little niche, you know, and do the best we can do in our own places and spaces. So don't let anybody, yeah. And if nobody wants to teach you how to bead, then you can just go to my old videos and I'll teach you, because that's just not right. But like, what are you afraid of? See, like, I need to find a super skinny bead right down here. Sometimes you just end up like searching and searching forever, and that's probably what takes the longest about beading, is searching for the right sizes when you bead. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know what? My grandmother showed me how to bead when I was young. I was like in my 20s. I asked her because one, I couldn't afford to buy beadwork. And, I loved beading. I loved the way beads looked. And so I asked my grandmother, and then the rest of it was up to me. I had to figure things out on my own. So a lot of the knowledge that I had, and then I asked whenever there was fellow beaders. Oh, thank you. Like, going down the road a long time ago, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Google on. So any chance I got, if I was talking to a fellow beater, I would just, ask them for tips and tricks, and then everything else I figured it out on my own. And so everybody, see, that's gonna bug me right here. I'm pretty sure that it's not a big deal, but I think when you're doing like, tiny fine beads, it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna be okay with it. But there's a part of me that wants to go rip that all out and fix it. Yeah, so you just kind of gotta too, like once you have the basics, just keep making and making and making and start simple. Start simple, because you don't want to get frustrated trying to do too advanced things right away. So start simple and get to know the beads. It's like, getting to know a friend, really. Right away, you guys don't just jump in telling each other everything. You got to take time to learn, from each other. And after beading for 20 years, I'm always learning, and the beads are always teaching me. I wanted to make my father a bear pendant. Oh, yeah. You know what? My grandmother-in-law passed away this year, and from COVID, and um, it was really sad. And I got one of her pendants, or a medallion that I made for her back, and now I'm just gonna keep it forever and pass it down in my family. Yeah, I'm sorry that that for your loss. This has just been an unprecedented year that we've all had to kind of face together. So returning to things like this, and, finding a way, it's like a light in the tunnel. You just gotta like fill your time and create and make beautiful things, because also you never know what you're gonna leave behind. I like to leave a lot of stuff behind when I go, for others to enjoy. Bringing beauty into this earth is, probably one of the most special things that we can do as humans. Sorry, I'm getting comfortable again. Oh, I'm live again. But I really... Aw, yes. There's so many natives from all walks of life, and we all have something special to offer, and we've all had different experiences, and the best thing we can do, and I feel like the most important thing, is just to make sure that we're continuing. you know it takes a lot of discipline and commitment to maintain these ways. And so even if you're starting off, it's okay. Just be patient with yourself, and know that everybody always starts off somewhere. So yeah, just continue. That's the most important thing, because for so long, they tried to not make us who we are, and we still thrived, and we're still surviving. And so the best we can do is just continue on these ways and be culture bearers, as it's called. And, learning after all these years, I still don't feel like I hardly know anything. I know that I don't know anything. I hardly know anything at all. And so I embrace it, is that even though I've learned a lot, I know I have so much more to learn and to give and to uphold, you know. That's a responsibility I feel like we all have. Yeah, my grandmother went to a boarding school too. And they were also, you know, my grandparents were from Fort Belknap, Montana, and they moved to LA uh, as a part of the Relocation Act, you know. And I grew up in the Northwest, and I had a pretty interesting experience growing up as a kid, and I totally embrace it because, you know, it's who I am, and, you know. Okay, I need more beads out here. These pink ones are all different sizes. These dark pink ones are like a lot of skinny ones, I've noticed. It's so strange because you'll get hanks and there'll be a bunch on just one hank will be a bunch of little tiny ones or be a bunch of thick fat ones. I'm really super technical when I bead. I'm like thick fat ones and the lead line and okay. That one's pink. See, like once these little ends get too long, then they'll start to get tangled up, so I just clip them. Yeah, yep. That's exactly true. You just got to keep learning. It's a responsibility that we have, I feel, you know. Me and my husband, you know, we live sober lives and try to do our best to continue on learning these things, holding this knowledge and passing it on to the next generation. You know, that's a responsibility, and I don't want to take it lightly. I just started, I was really lucky to go to a workshop and learn how to do porcupine quill wrapping. Unfortunately, I still have yet to, you know, I'm just so busy and have all these projects that I haven't had a chance to start quilling yet. But I will get to it. It's amazing, especially knowing that quill work, you know, predates beads. You know, beads were used as trade items. Yeah. To the we start there. Um, yeah, that's what I'm doing 2 needle right now. Um, that's what I'm doing right now is a 2 needle. I try 1 needle, but it's I don't know, I just don't get the hang of it really that well. So okay. Yeah, so this one is doing 2 needle. Actually, my little thread back here is starting to get tiny. I'm coming down to the end of it, so I'm gonna have to switch out and tie it off here in a minute. I can, you know what? I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. Okay. After I do a few more tacking. So I tack down a couple more. Yeah, see how the thread's getting real tiny right here? I'll do one more tacking down and then I'll tie it off in the back. Because you don't want to go to the very end and really be struggling around. So what I do is when I come to the end of my thread, when it's too little and I need to switch out my threads, I just, especially if I have it open, like how I'm using this, see how there's the end right there is open and there's not a knot on the end of this side right here is open. So when I'm using this one-sided one, it's not doubled up. So what I'll do is the way I tack it down is I just come here and I pass the needle underneath some of the threads and through this felt that I use. I'm using Pellon. And I'll just kind of like bring it through. See how I brought it through like this? Okay, so, and then I make a little loop. There's a loop. And I bring the needle through that loop. and I pull it and it makes its own knot. And I do that a few times. So I'll just kind of come back again right near that. I'll kind of grab a piece of the pellon and maybe right there. Come back through the other side through the loop and then pull it, and it creates a knot on its own. And then you can clip it off. And then if you really want to make sure it's secure, get a lighter and just barely burn the ends, and it won't go anywhere. That's how I tie it off. And so since I'm starting a new one, I'll show you how to do just the one-sided. So I'm grabbing quite a bit off right now. And then I'm going to thread with the beeswax. I'm going to take beeswax. You're welcome. Yeah. I mean, you can tie it off with even one needle. You can do the same thing to use a one needle to tie it off too. Like you don't have to clip. I mean, you can clip it from up high like this, and then you can just make your own knots and pull it. But that's how I do it with just, one needle or any needle. And then to get this other thread prepared, I'm waxing it with my beeswax. And then you can watch me struggle threading this needle because it's always so difficult. So what I do is I pinch the thread in between my fingers like this. And you're probably not going to see it because I don't see, there's my thread right here. So I bring it all the way down till it's right in between my fingertips like this. And it's not like foolproof, so, and then, so that thread isn't going to go anywhere. And then I take the needle or the eye and I push it down on top, and see that thread doesn't go anywhere, and you manage to see, ta-da. And then since if I'm doing larger beads, like say if I'm working with, size 11s or whatever, I will just double up this tacking thread. I'll double it up and I'll make a knot at the end and just get to tacking. But because I'm using size 13s and they're so delicate and small, I'll just make one knot on one side, and that'll help anchor the thread. So I'm just going to make one knot on one side like this. And you don't have to do this at all. This is just what I do. You can double up your thread if you want to, but I just find not doubling up the thread when you're using 13s. You can have just one single part that it's not gonna, when you double up the thread, you're still gonna have that doubled up thread that's going in between the beads and then causing a lot of separation. And so I feel like just doing one side, see how it's open like this? See, there's the knot right here, and the other side is open over here. And you'll still be able to tack down your beads. Okay. So I have my lead line right here, and I'm actually going to, because the design looks like it's gonna line up pretty good. So I'm gonna add the rest of my filler bead, the blue. I'm gonna add the rest of that and see if that's gonna fit pretty good. But this one's I'm gonna take this last one off because it looks like it might be, I don't want to crowd my beads. I want there to be room for everything. And now I'm going to so I've got this all set up. I've wrapped it around my fingers like this. And I'm going to take the second thread and I'm going to start to tack it down. So I am going to push the beads up a little bit with my thumb. I'm going to make them so they're all nice and snug together. I'm going to find where I tied it off last, and then I'm going to start the next two beads over where I tied it off. Oh, look, I was jumping over a bead. There we go. And see how right here you come into the end where it's going to make a loop. Here's this open one right here. It's just going to slide right through. There's the open one. Ta-da. And then you just keep tacking. I hope that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me. Okay. So I started this video right when I started making this. And so it's taken me an hour and a half to do all of this and this right here. Plus I've been talking, and I think that might kind of add to my taking so long. If I would have just got busy, I probably would have gotten a lot more done. See, and I made the mistake of adding too much glue right here. I had got a new bottle of glue, and so that's why it's hard for me to poke through right there. I got a new bottle of glue, and I was just wanting to put like a little tiny dab on the back to keep the paper onto this pellon, and then it just gooped out, and then so yeah, now there's a big old hard spot back there. You can definitely tell where the glue's at. I mean, you can just stitch down if you want to use a design. You can just stitch it down, or you can draw directly onto the pellon. I mean, there's that option too, but I like to have the nice clean lines and a grid to follow, just so I make sure that because even, beads are even, you can spend a lot of time trying to line them up and they'll still kind of just do what they want. Oops, I'm sorry. There, coming to the end. There, I'm going to jump back over to this other side. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I'm finished. I don't want to stack up all my beads either and then start tacking and then get over here and realize, oh no, the tacks are making the beads slide sideways. Like even this right here, like how it's already starting to kind of want to come right here. It's kind of sloping this way because there's too many of these beads right here. Once I start tacking, it's going to start shifting these beads more over this way. So what I can do is I'll tack up until I get down to that pink part. I'm going to tack and then I'm going to decide what I want to do. If I want to take one away completely, take one of the blue ones away completely, or if I want to just find a slimmer one. It's all about kind of guesstimating. You just got to eyeball everything. And also, yeah, it's just about eyeballing measurements really. Yeah, see how I'm already tacking every 2 beads now? And as I'm tacking, it's making the beads shift that way. And as I get closer to where I need to line up my design, see, look at already how much it's shifted. That's how much it's shifted. Oops, sorry. My camera doesn't want to focus. So you can see over here how much that design is shifted. And so to problem solve that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one out and I'm going to find two fat ones right here, and that will equal it out to where it's going to be even. So, or you can try to find three really skinny ones, but I'm going to use two fat ones to two fat beads. Yeah, that did the trick. See? And now it's lining up. Sorry. I know there's like other kind of YouTube videos are all professional and they got all kinds of cool stuff, and I'm just like here at my old creaky table. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Everything else is clean, and then there's just one little tiny bead that, that's gonna make me mad. There we go. Uh-oh. See, that one's a little bit too fat too. So I'm gonna find another skinny one. I wish I could show you guys how the difference is in those beads, because once you start getting tiny little beads like this, you really will notice the difference between each of the beads too. That's why I like working with these Czech seed beads, because they have different sizes, and the different sizes are, you're able to make, I feel you can make designs a lot more cleaner when you have all the different sizes. to choose from, I feel. I know there are, other types of brands of beads like that Miyuki or Toho, and they're made to be really uniformed, and that probably works really well for other kinds of beading styles like bead weaving, or something else. But the thing I really like about these Czech seed beads is I think they call them preciosa, but don't quote me on it. Don't quote me on it. Preciosa. I don't know. I just was watching videos on YouTube yesterday about how they make beads, and it's a pretty cool process too. That in itself was fun to watch. So as I'm like starting to get more towards the end of the outer edges, I'm just going to have more filler bead and I'm going to be going a lot faster. So that's good. I'm just going to make sure all my beads are lining up. Make sure you start off your line good too, like pretty in the middle. You want to give yourself room right here, because as the beads start to stack up, you want to make sure that they all, trying to give them room. That's the thing about beading, is like you're trying to give the beads enough room for each other, but then keep them close together. I mean, that's always the fine line, about beading, is like we want them to be as tight and close together as possible, but at the same time, we don't want them to be too far apart, and we need to give them room because they are made out of glass. Oops, pardon me. I always feel like oops. Oh, Butterfingers. I like these colors together. I've been itching to use this blue-green forever. That's what I liked about doing the raffles, because, I could have just made stuff and tried to raffle it up, but everybody's doing that right now. So I wanted to kind of set my raffle apart, by saying, like, I'll bead whatever you want, because I'm pretty confident in my skills in doing so. So I just put it out there, And so I liked it, because it almost like beading roulette. I didn't know what I was going to get, who was going to be the person I was going to be beading for, but that's a good challenge. I liked it. And then it gives me a chance to kind of, work within those parameters. And yeah, it was a good thing. I really enjoyed this. Yep, that bead is too big. Oh, shoot. Let me measure again. Oh, and that one's got a really nice facet on it right there. And these beads are too big and they're going to crowd. They're already crowding. So I'm going to try to find... Okay. This is why I have all kinds of leftover beads, is because then I start pulling beads off the hank to find the right size. And then when the project is over, I have all this like scattered mix of beads that is ended up after it's over. And then I have this big pile of bead soup at the end. It's still pushing it. There we go. These beads are kind of pushing the... There's this really pretty one I want to keep in there because it'll get a lot of shine. Where did it go? There it is.
Come here. No, fat cat. You like it?
That'd be crazy. Just go on like a crazy 24-hour bead marathon. God. Just go live on Instagram or go live on YouTube for 24 hours straight, just bead. I always thought like about this crazy game show if it was like just about beading, and then it'd be so boring nobody else would want to watch. Like, and she's rounding the corner on her fourth row of beads. Will the other two contestants keep up? Yeah, that's not going to happen. No. Would you watch? I always thought about that, like if the announcers would be all whispering all the time, like, she's doing a really intricate design and that's why it's taking her so long. I don't know why they would be British, but yeah, I think that's the funny thing about beading. And I know like there is that the idea that, when you're beading, when you're beading, you're supposed to be bringing good thoughts and, prayers while you're beading. And so, but sometimes, yeah, my mind gets away from me and I start thinking all kinds of crazy stuff. Favorite channel, right on. The beading channel. Almost like America's Got Talent, but America's been beading. I took a trip to, in 2018, I got to go to South Africa. And the Yoruba and the Zulu people do a lot of beadwork down there. And I was just kind of walking around and I went into this one shop and they had fully beaded armchairs. Not like a lazy boy. It was more like just an armchair and the whole thing was beaded. I don't know how they bless you. I don't know how they attached the beads on there, but it was amazing. And there was matching pairs. Matching pairs of beaded armchairs. And that wasn't the only store that had them. So there was like tons of stores with beaded armchairs everywhere. And I couldn't take pictures. There are pictures on yeah, right? I mean, I couldn't take pictures. I was trying to take pictures of the beaded chairs, but you can find them on Pinterest. And so since my needle is so long, like this was the thinnest one that I had, was one of these long ones. Because you can also have difference. Here's a sharp, and then there's these longs right here. And I usually use this brand, but there's quite a few other brands. Anyways, I think because this is so long right here, if I were to go one more pass, it's going to be hard for me to well, I always take my needle and I hope I don't break. I've snapped needles in half before. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna just tie this off and get a new line going. So when I tie it off, I mean you can just clip it and tie it down, or I always like to pass the thread at least through the top layer of the pellon. I don't know if that helps any, but make the loop. So how I've made this loop, and then I pass the needle through the loop, and then I pull, and it makes its own little tiny, nice and tidy knot. And then if you want to add extra knotting, and this is kind of like the stuff you would, if you're making items that people will be using a lot, like say if they're going to be dancing in it, this is when you want to have nice tight knots on your threads. But if they're earrings, usually the glue that you put back here is going to hold everything in place and you don't have to really worry about the longevity of the knot. But if you're making like maybe a beaded purse or regalia, you're going to want to make sure you have really good knots and then even get a lighter and kind of burn down the thread. It just melts because it's like, you know, fake thread, nylon. I don't know what the heck it's made out of. Okay, so I'm getting this whole new string ready. And I'm gonna wax my thread so it doesn't tangle. I got like a lot of thread. Oopsie, I made it too long. Unless my husband is gonna cook dinner, he might cook dinner. I'm gonna have to get off here pretty soon and start getting dinner ready for the family. Oops. But he's on a Zoom meeting right now, and so I don't know, maybe I'll just say everybody has sandwiches for dinner because I want to keep beading. I haven't um, beaded like this in over a year. With indigenous? How do you mean? Did I ever do anything with indigenous? Like, what do you mean by that? I know there was that band from the 90s called Indigenous. I know. Give me more details so I can answer you. Oh, shoot. Oh my gosh. You still have to jar my memory. I'm so bad. Uh, oh my goodness. I was working on a project last year called Natives Now. I've had, oh my gosh, I've had so much going on. I did a mural. I took portraits of our Native community members, and I have a page called Natives Now on Instagram that has that project on there. Um, what else? What else? What else? Come to the end. I'm just going to make a knot. So I'm doubling up this lead one. I know. Yeah, I am. And I thought that once I was done with this public art project that I was going to like have time to work on all the projects that have been sitting around. And that's not like how the rest of the year is going to be shaping up because I um have several applications in for different like types of projects that'll be going in. So if I get them, that's going to keep me busy. And also, I'm going to be doing a commission for a museum in Kansas City. And so that's going to keep me busy. And I'm hoping I can finish this other piece, but I needed to do a raffle so that we could raise money for a good cause for my family. So thank you. Yeah, I was like totally excited. You know, I've got some really good friends who support me, and so I'm very thankful for that. All right, okay. So I've got two on this side, and I ended up over here, so I want to keep the momentum going of I'm really hoping my husband wants to cook dinner because I kind of want to just bead. I would really, if I could, I would have a nanny and someone who cooks. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all wish we could have that because, yeah, life, dishes, laundry, schooling, grocery shopping always kind of cuts into my time of beading. But you know, it's got to get done. So I try to fit the beading in between everything else. Come on now. Okay, so we're going to do one more line of this and then we'll start. And then I keep hitting that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Exactly. Drina, yes. But my kids have kind of learned, they're like, oh, mom's beating, leave her alone. But that took a lot of like, what do you guys, I try to be there for them during the daytime, especially because we're in COVID. So I try to be there for the kids. And so that means like as soon as they're out of school, then I'm gonna hop on doing what I need to do. Because usually if I try beating when they're in school, they tend to stop doing what they need to do. So I've got to be ever vigilant. Yeah, I know what you mean. Or if you're on the phone, or like recently I've been on like a ton of Zoom calls and all of a sudden, yes, yep, we're very fortunate. COVID, we just get to be at home. And so, yeah, they can do a hybrid, but I wasn't comfortable with hybrid learning. Like they can go to school twice a week, and I still, because it seems like no matter where you're at, what I've seen is that as soon as they send the kids kids to school, there's somebody, who's sick with it. And so we just decided to keep them at home. What are you doing, baby? You getting hungry? I'm live. Hi. Yay, I am. You're welcome. Oh, happy holidays to you too. No, I'm beating these things for a raffle that I just had. So I figured, I guess while I'm sitting here beating, I might as well go on YouTube. And I don't know who's been here through the beginning, but I'm almost coming up on 2 hours of beating. So if you go back in the video, I do have some tips and tricks. So if you have any questions, then just feel free to put them in the chat and I'll try to answer them. It's this weird thing like live that your comments will pop up real quick, but they fade away really fast before I can read them. So if I don't get the whole pardon me if I don't get the whole thing right away. Okay, so those two are a little bit. I wish I had a macro. Hope you do. Oh, nice. Yeah. I'm gonna have I have this so we had the raffle and the grand prize winner got $450 value of beadwork. And then there's a second and third prize winners who got earrings. And so that's what this is for. I'm starting on one of them while the grand prize winner chooses what they want. And I felt that. Yeah, more live beatings. Okay. I'll do my best. It's kind of nice to just hop on here. Just kind of chat and interact too is nice. Now my thread is like extra long, so it's gonna like take longer for the beads to get over. Ah! No, I don't want to rotate my device. Darn it. Can you guys still see me? I hit my thing and then oops. Oh, oops. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's happening. Hold on. Okay. There we go. Sorry. Technical difficulties. I have this funny little arm right here and I can attach a phone to it, but sometimes. Uh-oh, okay. Thank you for stopping by, Drina. I appreciate it. It was good chatting with you. Hopefully I'll have more live videos and we can come back and chat some more. All right. So yes, definitely sandwich. My oldest was just coming in here looking around and I thought, make yourself a sandwich because I don't want to cook dinner. My kids are practically feral from the pandemic. No, aw, poor babies. Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner though, for real. And then, this pandemic. Oh my gosh, there's so much. Just it's so much. It really is. Not too bad, no. I mean, I am on Instagram a lot and yeah, so usually I'll go live on Instagram too and when I'm working on like this heart right here. Sometimes I have a video up, but not all the time. I kind of wonder if like going live while I'm working on something it reduces like the wow factor, but people seem to like it still. So are excited about it. There, see. Since my thread is like extra long, it takes twice as long to get all the beads off, which is kind of like a trade-off. So this one is too thin. Just take it off and then search a little bit better. And a lot of times too, I'll kind of, yeah. This isn't quite as practical, beating off the hank like this. It is really a lot nicer to have like a little bowl of beads that you can kind of just scoop them onto your needle. This is an okay method when you're kind of, yeah, when you're doing tracks of color is when it's a good idea, I feel. But everybody, really, it's whatever you feel most comfortable with doing is what just do whatever feels comfortable. There's really no right or wrong way. As long as the beads are getting on there and you're doing it in a good way, that's all you have to worry about. Usually I'll, like if I'm beading for a long time and if my thread starts to get tangled up a lot, like it'll start tangling or I poke myself too much, I'll stop. I'll get up, I'll go make myself some tea, rest my back, because right now I'm sitting at the table and so after a while your back gets all tired out, and just take a break and then kind of collect myself and then come back and start, finish it off. So the first ones are always the one that takes me the longest. And so once I get this down, the second one, so I've been working on this for 2 hours. I started this video right when I started doing the outer edge right here. So that's taking me 2 hours to do all this. And I'm pretty sure the second one will be like way faster. But it's coming along nicely. I love these colors. That red, it's kind of not, like you can't tell. Video never picks up beaded colors ever that well, but this raspberry, I'm going to call it raspberry. I don't think it has an official name. Let me see. Nope, it doesn't even have a tag on it, darn it. I think I got those in Oklahoma. I did. There's this place in Oklahoma and it's like mecca for beaders. Like you have to go there, and they have even up to size 22 beads. I think I even have some around here. Anyways, yeah, they have all the sizes, all the different kinds of, they've got ABs, they've got hexagon, like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so this place in Oklahoma that I go to has all kinds of beads, and I like to order online if I have to. I mean, I'll order online if I have to, but I prefer to be able to pick the beads up and see what they look like in person. That's what I prefer. So we're going to go back over here on this side and just keep going back, 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 back. So do a line over here, jump back over here, go up, jump back over there, go down. That way, hopefully by doing that, I'm kind of keeping the design a little bit more symmetrical. See, and then things like this happen where your thread gets caught on your scissor ends like that. That's the kind of stuff that it's like, why? Or what's worse is if your thread catches the scissors and you yank on your thread and then the scissors run in and knock over all your beads. That's even worse. That's like, okay, I better get up and take a break, because I'll just like be all mind boggled, like, why? Do you think that was funny, baby? Are you laughing at me?
No, she's laughing at me.
Oh. For you, I'm setting it to bead onto a paper and print it out. You stack the paper down, put the paper onto the first. You know what? If you're gonna tack the glue on, or if you're gonna use glue, make sure you're using just little dots everywhere. Um, Okay. Yeah, I mean, either way, you can tack it down just using a thread. Um, or if you use glue, I would use that Aleene's tacky glue because it doesn't dry as fast. Um, yeah, because right now I put glue on this one right here just earlier, and it accidentally came out too much, and now I have these big spots that are hard to put my needle through. But if you do use glue, you can just take a little tiny and then, smear it on the backs and just look the right places. Yeah, like you can do the corners, just do a little tiny bit of smear and it'll hold it in place until you start tacking down and then it should be good. So yeah, I mean, glue's okay, but I just got a brand new bottle of glue and it just, ooh, I do have tacky glue. I wonder if it's better to skip or skimp. I would skimp. Yeah. Use it sparingly in all the right places you know you're not going to have beads. And that'll make it easier for you. Or, you can just sew it down real quick. No, no problem. Miss Green Dreams, thank you for asking. Yeah. I used to, tack it down to real big broad tacks, just to keep the design in place. I'm getting close to being done with these two. It's kind of like, this is fun because I kind of like it. It's like, it's almost like a beading circle, but not. I mean, now everything we do, we have to do it via Zoom or from far away. And I think maybe we're all missing those connections we have with each other. And even when you do get to be around people, you have to wear a mask. And it's just been the most difficult year. And there's so many people, And so this is kind of nice because it's like usually when I sit down and bead, my mind's like going all over the place. And so now you guys, people, I'm usually just in my little studio right here all by myself and to get things done. Yeah, this is fun. Okay. So, oops. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure out how to plug my phone in real quick. Hold on. Well, I think I'm actually gonna have to go, everyone. I gotta plug my phone in and also probably go make dinner for my family. And so I appreciate everybody watching on while I beaded. I'm gonna do more lives, because you guys were suggesting I should. And also I have like another pair of earrings to do, and then I'll have like probably a medallion and another pair of earrings. And so that process. And so if you guys want to join me, that would be awesome. So I'll try to do more of these over the next course of the next, 5 days. We'll see what I can do. So thank you for stopping by, everybody. I appreciate it and have a good night. And I'll see you later down the road, hopefully soon. That's took me 2 hours and 11 minutes.